Hi guys! In this video I'll take a look at some questions I received after having published the last video where I talked about the transition from living in a house to being a full-time liveaboard. Before we get started, I want to mention that as of today, and I do plan on publishing this video tonight, so as of today there are only 2 months till I fly to Portugal, go aboard Fiona and cross the Atlantic. I think I have everything sorted. I've booked all the flights, I have the brand new camera, I have the InReach SE, so the only thing I really need to do now is to purchase a PLB. The reason I haven't purchased a PLB yet is that there are some somewhat unclear rules here in Denmark about what ID the PLB should be programmed with when it's not for use aboard your own vessel. Now, in essence, it's a very simple question. Should the PLB be programmed with the MMSI number of my vessel, or should it just have the internal serial number of the PLB? Now, anywhere in the world but here in Denmark, that would be a very simple question. But we'll get back to that in a future video. Oh, and before anybody starts spreading rumors, yes, I have trimmed my beard, and no, it is not because of a girl, sadly. Okay, enough dilly-dallying, let's get to the questions. I received an email from Rutger and Ilse in the Netherlands, so hi to all of my Dutch viewers. Rutger and Ilse are preparing to sell their house in order to move aboard their boat, and of course that sounds like an awesome idea. Rutger and Ilse writes, I assume you can take water from the dock and don't have to move the boat to fill up your tanks. Seems to be common in other countries. What about freezing temperatures? Do they drain the water supply? What will you do then? Well, you're correct in assuming that I don't need to move my boat in order to top off my tanks, even during the winter, but it's not quite as easy as during the summer where I can just grab the hose off the dock. Due to the low temperatures, the water supply is shut off in the beginning of November. But let me show you what we do here in this marina. This is a closed down section of the washrooms. To top off our tanks during the winter season when there's no water available on the docks, we have this hose. Now, needless to say, it is a little bit inconvenient having to run this hose all the way up here from the washroom and down to the dock. But luckily, I only need to do it about once a month. Whew, it's nice to be down below here in the boat again. So, on to the next question. Rutger and Ilse writes, in relation to condensation and ventilation, any new experiences yet? We've bought a big dehumidifier and will try to keep the ventilation running. Luckily we have a tent over the cockpit so we can keep ventilating during rain. How do you do that? Well, I absolutely love my dehumidifier. I don't really need it during the winter. That's to say, as soon as it's cold enough for me to switch on the reflex stove, the stove does a great job of keeping humidity here inside the boat around 40%, no matter how wet it is outside. But for instance, during the fall, before it's cold enough for me to switch on the reflex stove, the dehumidifier does a great job of keeping humidity down. Now, there are a few added bonuses to having a dehumidifier aboard the boat. Firstly, on a day like today when it's raining outside, wet clothing, or well, a wet dog, dries a lot quicker with the dehumidifier on. And secondly, because my dehumidifier is in essence a heat pump, well, it doesn't extract heat from the outside air or the ground, it extracts heat from the water vapor here inside the boat. It also provides a little bit of heat. Of course, that isn't a viable way to heat the boat, but still, it's a nice added bonus. The point being here that having a dehumidifier aboard the boat is a big win, and if you want to heat your boat using shore power, I honestly suspect that having a dehumidifier aboard the boat is probably the best money you're ever going to spend. Now, there are the added bonus of clothing drying quicker and the little bit of heat you get, and it's not all that expensive to run. So yeah, a dehumidifier, like I said, is a big win. But as soon as the canvas guy has time, he'll make a full cockpit enclosure for me too, and I think that's going to make a really big difference. On to the next question. Rutger and Ilse writes, do you have a laundry machine at the marina? Do you put your laundry in a dryer, or do you have some way where you can air dry your laundry? What do you pay for that service? We didn't realize it's €5 for washing and another €5 for drying in some marinas. Could be interesting for others to hear. Well, because I never used the head here aboard the boat, that area has sort of turned into a big hamper. So let's go have a look. A few seconds ago I was talking about the dehumidifier I have here aboard the boat, and it's right here next to me. This is in fact where I put wet clothing. Case in point, this is the jacket I wore this morning when I took Jökull for a walk. It was completely soaked only a few hours ago, and now it's, yeah, totally dry. But let's get back to the question about laundry. Well, I used one of these big blue IKEA bags as a hamper, and as luck would have it, I'm just about due to do another load of laundry, so let's go take care of that. We have both a washer and a dryer here at the marina. The cost is 25 Danish kroner, which is around €3 I think, for 2 loads of laundry if you time it correctly. Otherwise you're just gonna get 1 load of laundry for that €3. And then it's an additional €3 for an hour and a half's use of the dryer. That did seem a little bit expensive to start with, but in reality it turns out I only do 2 loads of laundry every 2 weeks, so it turns out to be 100 Danish kroner per month, which isn't bad. I use the dryer for all of my laundry because, well, it's easier, it's faster, and I get less wrinkles in my clothing, so yeah. Right now we have the option to air dry our clothing, but that might be a temporary situation. Everything I need to pay for here in the marina, like for instance this washing machine, is done using this little card. Well, let's get on with the next question. In relation to space and stuff, Rutger and Ilse writes, you got rid of a lot of stuff. How do you feel about that? What stuff do you miss, or do you feel relieved? Are there any changes you made during the transition? For example, we bought a mobile printer and scanner and a small laptop and got rid of all the big desktop stuff. Well, I can honestly say that I don't miss any of my stuff from the house. In my eyes, me moving aboard the boat was a really good thing because it forced me to get rid of all that stuff. Now, my house wasn't huge and I'm not a hoarder, but still, I drove roughly 30 trailer loads of stuff up to the recycling center when I sold the house. That is a lot of useless stuff. In the movie Fight Club from 1999, there's a quote that's kind of stuck with me ever since I saw the movie the first time. It goes something like, the stuff you own end up owning you. I know it's not the pinnacle of sophistication to quote Hollywood movies, but I think there's a lot of truth to that quote, so don't be afraid to get rid of your stuff. Now I have a small storage unit where I keep stuff I don't want to throw away. For example, I have my summer tires for my car up there, and I have a lot of my tools. In reality, it's quite simple. Do you own a lot of IKEA furniture and other stuff that's not really worth anything? Don't put that in storage, it's not worth it. Do you have a few items of high sentimental value that you want to keep? Go ahead and put that in storage. Now, as for the computer stuff, I've almost exclusively been using this 15-inch MacBook Pro for the last 2 years, so that wasn't really much of a transition. In the next question, Rutger also writes, have you got a good internet connection from the marina or some unlimited data plan on your cell phone? How is the internet connection on your laptop? We use a Ubiquiti Bullet and a standard router. It's complex, but good for speeds from Wi-Fi networks up to 3 kilometers away. Well, I use this little guy. This is a 4G Wi-Fi hotspot. This provides a Wi-Fi network that all of my devices can join, and those devices are then in turn connected to the internet over a 4G connection. The theoretical speed limit on 4G is around 100 megabits per second, I think. Now, of course, the real world speeds are gonna vary a lot. I normally see speeds ranging from 10 megabits per second up to 90 megabits per second, with the most of the time spent around sort of 20 megabits per second, which is perfectly fine for me. Now for €27 a month, I think it is, I get 200 gigabytes of data on this little guy, and that is basically all I need. Now having said that, I do plan on putting in a similar system to the one Rutger mentions in his question. They use the Bullet, and I plan on using the Groove 52 HPN. Those are pretty similar, but if you want to know more about Wi-Fi aboard a boat, you should definitely keep an eye out for that video. I think it's going to help a lot of people with Wi-Fi connection issues. I think I can answer the next 2 questions relatively quickly. The first one has to do with food. You have a small fridge, no freezer, and only a 2-burner stove. Does that affect your cooking? Well, I am but a simple, very single guy, and the cooking I do here aboard the boat certainly reflects that. Now that's not to say I eat a lot of junk food, because I don't, and it's not to say that I don't enjoy cooking, because I kinda do. It's just that I tend to stick with things that have few ingredients, are quick to cook, and are relatively affordable. So, case in point, tonight is gonna be burrito night here aboard the boat, or well, at least the butchered Danish version of a burrito. So all you really need for that is some minced meat, some lettuce, and some red peppers, and well, you're basically done. As for the size of my fridge, I know it's small, but it's actually a good size for me. I go shopping for groceries maybe once or twice a week, and I've yet to find that I'd not be able to squeeze everything I need into the tiny fridge. The next question has to do with friends and family. How did you think they would react, and how did they eventually react to you moving aboard the boat? Well, I'm not sure my parents fully understand why I love this lifestyle, but they've been nothing but supportive the whole way through. And as for my friends, well, I think they think it's kind of cool to live aboard a boat, but I'm sure some of them could let you know down in the comments. Well, I'm looking at you, Ole and Henrik. And honestly, if your friends have objections to you moving aboard a boat, well, they're probably the wrong kinds of friends. Okay guys, it's getting a little bit late here. I don't know if you can see on camera, but it's dark outside now, and I want to get started on those burritos, and I want to get started on editing this video. But I do have one quick question for you. What do you think about me answering these questions on camera? Was that a good or a bad idea? Please let me know down in the comments. I just felt these questions were kind of good, generic questions that other potential liveaboards might enjoy hearing. So yeah, let me know down in the comments. I know I promised you a look at the items Scott sent me in this video, but that'll have to wait for tomorrow. But yeah, I guess that's it for this video, guys. See you! Jökull and I hope you've enjoyed this video. To be notified about new content, please click subscribe. If you're new to the channel, I suggest you check out the introduction playlist. If you've enjoyed this video, please consider giving it a thumbs up, and feel free to leave a comment.